do you really think that Cristian Roldan is better than Tanner Tessman and Aiden Morris? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. Tim, let's talk about some Cristian Roldan. Ever heard of him?
I have heard a lot of him, and I'd love to talk about him.
So he, after the Leagues Cup title, which he was one of the best players in that whole tournament. He's obviously having a fantastic season. He was on vacation, as I understand it, after Leagues Cup ended, and then he got a little call from Pochettino and the gang, and they said, "Hey, want to come join the USMNT for our September friendlies?" And he was like, "Yeah." And the USMNT won 2-0 in their friendly against Japan. Last night, Cristian played the full 90, I'm pretty sure. If he didn't play the full 90, he played for most of the game. And what do you know? The team looked much better than it has in a while. I'm not saying that's necessarily like causation or whatever. But I mean, I do think that it's notable that as soon as he got in the 11, the team beat a good opponent and like looked pretty damn good while doing it. And Cristian had a really good shift. You had the bots talking about obviously how terrible he is. They're always gonna do that. But I think anyone who was watching that game could see that he was doing his thing. I thought he and Tyler Adams looked like they were working pretty well together. And then the ripple effect on the team as a whole seemed to be there. Tim, what do you make, I guess, first of all, of Cristian getting back in the mix? This had been something that, was getting talked about in our type of circles as something that should happen, but not something that I necessarily expected to happen just because of his age and he hadn't really been in the mix for a while. What did you think of him getting the call? And then also the positive impact that it seemed to have on the USMNT midfield, which I think anyone who's being real about it should be able to acknowledge that the whole team did look a lot better. I'm just saying.
On a personal level, for me, I was frustrated because I don't watch the U.S. men's national team really. And with Cristian getting called in, it was like, well, I have to watch if he's on the field. But great for Cristian, very much well-deserved and earned. The move to making him a permanent part of Seattle's double pivot has been so good for him, so good for the Sounders, and for all that there's like a number of younger players in a similar role throughout the U.S. system. You've got Sebastian Berhalter, it's the Columbus Crew guy who moved to
Aiden Morris.
Yeah, Aiden Morris, and Tyler Adams, obviously. Weston McKennie didn't get called in for this couple of friendlies, but I think Cristian offers a lot that you don't get from those guys, for all that, like, Tyler Adams has a lot of good qualities. Like, he's a good ball winner, and in short distribution, he can win the ball and give it to somebody else. But I think Cristian offers a kind of utility player is almost unfair and derogatory a little bit, but like, he does all of the things you want a guy in that part of the field to do well. And it was funny watching him in the game against Japan, where like playing with Christian Pulisic in front of him to the left, there were several times where it was a similar thing to when like a really talented player comes to an MLS team and they're hitting passes or making runs and the guys around them just don't know what to do with it. There were several times where Cristian either is involved in creating a transition opportunity or making a pseudo transition opportunity out of possession, and he has the defense running backwards and he gives the ball to Pulisic, and then he's like, do you not know what to do here? Like, what's happening? But I think he looked really good. I think, paraphrasing the god Matt Doyle in his stock up, stock down piece on MajorLeagueSoccer.com about the US roster coming out of these friendlies, that Cristian looked sort of unspectacular, but was subtly heavily involved in most of the good moments for the US yesterday, like was involved in all of the chances created basically and involved in the buildup for the goals in some capacity. I mean, I think increasingly the likelihood that he goes to the World Cup is pretty high.
Yeah, no, it was funny. You have the portion of people that are going to crash out about it anytime he gets called in, no matter what. And I saw a few tweets flying around to the effect of like, do you really think that Cristian Roldan is better than Tanner Tessman and Aiden Morris? I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, at the very least, I don't think there's all that much of a differential in overall quality between him and those other guys. And we're biased, but I do think having watched him play this whole year, I do think he's better than those guys. And what I think is great about the year he's had this year is, so much of it is just dismissing him because he plays in MLS, which is nothing new. But if you look at the games that he's played in this year, there was a game against Atletico Madrid where he was, I thought, the best player on the field, and the rest of the Club World Cup games against Botafogo and PSG, he was one of the better players on the field. The Atletico game in particular, he was incredible, but he was really good in the Club World Cup. And then in Leagues Cup, where they're playing all these Liga MX teams and then close it out with a game in the final against Lionel Messi and the Barca boys, he was still one of, if not the best players on the field. So it's like, it just it did away with that talking point, like, right away, which that was fun to see.
Yeah, I think it's always funny when someone is like, do you really think he's better than Tanner Tessman? Tanner Tessman played for a fashion label in the Italian second tier for a while. And now just because he's on a team that you've heard of in France who you can't watch their games, good luck. I don't know how you think you know how he's doing, but like, even if you can, I doubt he playing for Olympique Lyon looks better against PSG than Cristian did against PSG.
No. Yeah. I mean, no shade at Tanner Tessman. There was some random names thrown out there. Like even when it was like, do we really think he's better than Johnny Cardoso? Yeah, I would say so. It's at least debatable. But yeah, no, I hope he keeps getting called in. Credit to Pochettino, honestly, for I would argue it took a little too long, but what do you think of just the approach he's taken and how vocal he is about giving anyone a chance no matter what league they play in, and how we need MLS players and the quality of the league is such that these guys deserve that? He's saying all this stuff that I don't think Berhalter even went on the record to this extent, probably because he knew that he would get skewered for it. Pochettino doesn't care. Like, outside of whatever you think of him as a coach, what do you think of that aspect of it? Because I think it's pretty funny from our perspective.
I think it's pretty funny. I think it's also, for all that, like, the dudes who are the biggest pervs about the U.S. men's national team are going to be the craziest about, you have to have all of your best players playing in Europe. The U.S. is not unique in that capacity of, like, the craziest fans think that you aren't a real national team unless you're calling players from big leagues in Brazil. Like, Mexico have the same issue with their fan base. But the way that you build a culture within your national team and reflect the country that you represent is to call players from that country. And you want domestic talent doing well in the domestic league. If that domestic league is good, and, I don't think that MLS is on the same level as the big five European leagues, but it's not a bad league and it is competitive. I think calling more players from MLS to see how they stack up against the other guys is the right move. Like, if you're not exploring the full depth of your player pool, then you're not really doing the job.
Yeah. I mean, it is just funny seeing the reactions to it sometimes, because it's like every national team in the world pretty much works like this, where you have a group of players that play in different leagues around the world, and you call in the best of those ones, and then you call in a lot of guys from the domestic league. So I don't know. Maybe it's that we only see the crazy US discourse, and it does work like that in other countries. To me, it's always felt like it must be more extreme here, but I don't know. Either way, it was good to see Cristian back out there playing well, contributing to a win, a badly needed win for the US. It's crazy how that works. Like, the vibes around that team and that program were so terrible. All it took was a slide in Cristian Roldan into the starting 11, and the vibes are back. They beat a good Japan team pretty comprehensively. I didn't watch the full game, but I watched enough of it to see that they were playing well. So we'll see if they can keep that up, and we'll see if Cristian keeps getting called in. I mean, he's going to have a chance to keep excelling at the club level for the rest of Seattle's season and into the playoffs. And based on the year he's having, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't do that and keep his name in the mix.